The billionaire walked in and caught his fiancée torturing the maid. What he did next shocked everyone. The mansion doors flew open, and the screaming stopped instantly. Michael stood frozen in the marble hallway, his briefcase falling from his hand. His fiancée had her hand raised, ready to strike again. Grace knelt by an overturned chair, holding her cheek, saying nothing. For 3 seconds nobody moved. Then Michael's voice cracked the silence. Nobody in that house expected what he would do next. Nobody, especially not Emma, standing there in her red silk dress, smiling like she'd done nothing wrong at all. Grace had worked in that house for 6 years. She knew which floorboard creaked outside the library. She knew Michael took his coffee black, in the same chipped blue mug every morning, the one his late father used to use. She never mentioned it. She just made sure it was always clean and waiting. Michael barely noticed the small things Grace did. That was the trouble with wealth. Kindness became invisible when you never had to ask for it. Emma noticed something else. She noticed that Grace kept an old photograph tucked behind the kitchen calendar. A young woman, laughing, standing beside a man in an army uniform. Emma never asked who they were. She just filed it away, the way people do when they're looking for a weapon instead of an answer. 3 weeks before the wedding, Emma started finding reasons to be unkind. Small ones at first. A folded napkin placed wrong. A door left unlocked. Nothing that mattered. Nothing that should have mattered. "You did this on purpose," Emma said one morning, holding up a wine glass with a tiny water spot. Grace shook her head. "I dried it myself, ma'am. Don't lie to me." Henry, the elderly house manager who'd worked there longer than anyone, watched from the doorway and said nothing. He'd learned a long time ago that saying something to Emma only made it worse for whoever she'd decided to punish. By the second week, it wasn't about wine glasses anymore. Emma found reasons every single day. She raised her voice in front of guests. She made Grace re-clean rooms that were already spotless. Once, she threw a stack of folded towels on the floor just to watch Grace pick them up again. Grace never fought back. She needed this job. Her daughter was in nursing school 2 states away, and every paycheck mattered more than her pride. But Henry started keeping a small notebook in his coat pocket. What he'd seen. He didn't know yet how much that notebook would matter. By the final week before the wedding, the house felt like a held breath. Emma's cruelty had stopped hiding itself. Staff whispered in the kitchen. Nobody dared tell Michael, afraid of losing everything for saying the wrong thing to the wrong person. Grace thought about quitting every single night. But then she'd remember her daughter's voice on the phone, proud and hopeful, and she'd put her shoes back on the next morning. Then, one afternoon, Emma found the photograph. She held it up in the hallway, turning it over in her hands like it was evidence in a trial. "Who is this?" she demanded. Grace's hands started to shake. "Please, give that back. Not until you tell me who he is." Grace reached for it. Emma pulled it away, laughing, and that's when everything happened at once. The shove, the fall, the table crashing over. And that's the exact moment the front door opened. Michael stood there, briefcase forgotten on the floor, staring at the woman he was supposed to marry in 9 days. He didn't see a wine glass or a folded towel. He saw his fiancée standing over a woman on the ground. And in his hand, without even realizing he'd picked it up, was the photograph. "Whose is this?" Michael asked quietly, staring at the man in the uniform. Grace wiped her eyes. "My husband. He passed 12 years ago. He served with your father, sir. They were friends before either of us had $2 to rub together." Michael went very still. Henry stepped forward then, the small notebook in his hand. "Sir, I think you should see this too." Page after page. Incidents. Small cruelties that had grown into something much bigger, written down by a man too afraid to speak up until now. Emma's face changed. The confidence drained out of it. "Michael, it's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like," he said. She reached for his arm. He stepped back. "I gave you every part of this house," Michael said, his voice low and steady. "And you used it to hurt the one person who's kept it running with more heart than anyone I know." Emma opened her mouth, but no words came out. For the first time since anyone had known her, she had nothing to say. The wedding never happened. Emma left that same afternoon, and nobody in the house pretended to be sad about it. But that wasn't the part that shocked everyone. A week later, Michael sat down with Grace in the kitchen, in the chair she'd cleaned 1,000 times but never once sat in herself. He told her the truth, that her husband hadn't just been his father's friend. He'd saved his father's life once, long before Michael was born, and his father had never forgotten it. There had always been a promise between them, one that got lost in grief and time. Michael made sure it wasn't lost anymore. He paid off the last of her daughter's tuition that same week. He gave Grace a new position in the house, one with respect attached to it, not just duties. And when she tried to thank him, he shook his head. "You don't owe me thanks," he said. "I owe your family a debt that's long overdue." Henry got his own quiet reward too. Michael thanked him personally for the courage it took to finally speak up, and made sure everyone in that house knew that honesty would always be protected there, not punished. Grace kept the old photograph on the kitchen windowsill after that, where the morning light could reach it. Every day she made Michael's coffee in the same chipped blue mug. And every day he thanked her for it, out loud the way he never used to. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness, carried quietly for years, becomes the greatest legacy of all. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes kindness can change the world. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below.